Hey everyone, I'm going to walk through the Hayward AquaTrol salt chlorination system for above-ground pools and try to give you a clear picture of whether it actually solves the headaches most pool owners face. I know the decision to go from traditional chlorine tablets to a salt system feels like a leap, especially when you're not sure if the extra upfront cost will pay off in day-to-day convenience. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First, let's talk about the problem that brings most people to the market for a salt chlorinator. With a conventional setup, you're constantly juggling chlorine buckets, measuring doses, and watching the water turn that slightly greenish-gray hue before it clears. For families who dip in after a long day, that ritual can feel like a chore, and the lingering chlorine smell often irritates eyes and skin. The fear of buying a system that promises soft water but ends up being a money sink is what makes many hesitate. The AquaTrol is designed specifically for above-ground pools up to 18,000 gallons, which covers the majority of residential backyard installations. The unit hooks onto the return jet fittings, so you don't need to run a new pipe from the pump to a dedicated chamber. In practice, that means you can usually mount the generator on the side of the pool wall, run the included straight blade line cord, and have the system generating chlorine within an hour of turning it on. I've watched a few DIY videos where homeowners finish the whole mechanical part in under 2 hours, and the process feels more like a simple plumbing tweak than a full-scale renovation. From a day-to-day perspective, the biggest win is the elimination of manual chlorine dosing. Once the salt level in the water hits the recommended range about 2,700 to 3,500 ppm, the cell starts producing chlorine automatically. For a family that swims 3 times a week, the routine shrinks to check the salt sensor once a month and top up with plain table salt if it dips low. There's no need to carry around a heavy bottle of chlorine or worry about over-chlorinating on a hot day. The water feels noticeably gentler on the eyes. My own sister, who's very sensitive to chlorine, mentioned that her eyes didn't sting after a 30-minute swim, something she hadn't experienced with a traditional system. Soft water also translates to a real benefit for poolside fabrics. You'll notice that swim shirts and towels don't come out with that faded, chalky look after a season of use. That claim isn't just marketing fluff. Chlorine's oxidative power is what strips dyes over time, and the salt system keeps the chlorine concentration steady rather than spiking after each tablet. The result is a more consistent water chemistry that protects both skin and clothing. However, the system isn't a pure plug-and-play miracle. The first hurdle is the installation of the return jet fittings. If your pool's existing jets are not standard Hayward-compatible sizes, you'll need an adapter kit, which adds a few extra dollars and a bit of extra time. In my conversations with a couple of pool service pros, they warned that a misaligned fitting can cause leaks that force you to drain a portion of the pool to fix. So the trade-off is, you get a cleaner, lower-maintenance water experience, but you have to be comfortable with a modest amount of DIY plumbing or be willing to pay a professional for that part of the job. Another practical consideration is the cell's lifespan. Salt cells gradually accumulate scale, especially in hard water regions. The AquaTrol cell is rated for several thousand hours of operation, but you'll still need to clean it every few months with a mild acid solution to keep chlorine production at peak efficiency. Skipping that maintenance can lead to a sudden drop in chlorine output, which might catch you off guard during a busy swim weekend. For owners who prefer a truly hands-off experience, that routine cleaning step is a hidden cost of time. The electricity requirement is modest, about 40 watts, but you do need a nearby outlet that stays dry. If your pool is situated on a concrete slab with no outdoor GFCI nearby, you'll have to run a weather-rated extension cord, which some renters find cumbersome. That's why the AquaTrol tends to be a better fit for homeowners rather than renters who may not have the permission or ability to run permanent wiring. Now, who should seriously consider this system? If you own an above-ground pool between 8,000 and 18,000 gallons, swim regularly, and are fed up with the smell and irritation that traditional chlorine brings, the AquaTrol offers a concrete upgrade. It also makes sense for anyone who wants to reduce ongoing chlorine purchases. The salt you add is cheap, and a 40-pound bag can keep the system running for months. On the other hand, if you have a very small pool, say under 5,000 gallons, the fixed output of the generator can over-chlorinate, leading to cloudy water and higher maintenance. Likewise, if you're moving houses often or live in a rental where you can't modify the pool's plumbing, you might be better off